Hello. Well, this webinar you're about to see is all about how to use generative AI to boost your communications. And as a communications expert and somebody who's worked a lot with companies and professionals, helping them improve their communication skills, the way they present themselves, the way they negotiate, the way they write, and all that kind of thing, AI is really changing the game. And this isn't hyperbole, it's not a craze, it's really happening. People already are using AI to improve their communications, but not everybody is doing it right. And this is what this webinar is all about. So enjoy. So again, welcome, and I'm going to show you now what we're going to be looking at over the course of the next hour. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Okay, so this is what we're going to be looking at. First of all, I want to talk about what generative AI is, because I think it's important that we understand the distinction between generative AI and what you might call regular AI, because artificial intelligence has been with us for a long, long time. It's actually started in the 1950s. So that's not a new concept in itself, but generative AI is something that, although it's been it's been developed over a number of years, it's only recently that it's started to become a thing and actually useful for a lot of people. So we need to sort of understand a little bit more about that. Then I'm going to look at the communications journey, the way that we actually approach communications and how can we use AI to power that up. So what's the difference between perhaps what we used to do before to what we can do now with AI. And then I'm going to give you a few tips on how to use generative AI in your communications. And then I'm going to bring in Dr. Nasri Bajri. And Nasri has a lot of experience in the tech side of AI, and he's been doing a lot of work for many years on this. So he's going to be offering us a slightly different perspective, because I am not a tech person. Okay, I have to emphasize that. I am a communications person, but I am not a tech person. So it's always good to have an expert on that. So I'll be talking to Nasri later. And then finally, I'm going to do a demonstration with ChatGPT. And I'm going to show you how to create a very short piece of content and how to go about it in a way that's the most effective. And then hopefully at the end, we might have 10 minutes just to take some of your questions if you have any. Okay. So hopefully that's something that's interesting for everybody. So I'm going to start, and we're going to look at exactly what is generative AI. Now, actually, I used ChatGPT to come up with the answer to this. So this is what ChatGPT told us, and I think it's pretty accurate and clear. Generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that can create, generate, and produce new content such as text, images, or music by learning patterns and structures from existing data. So this is what it does. It actually creates content. It doesn't help us kind of edit content or anything like that. It actually creates content itself. Now, you can actually create, text, or you can just get inspiration for ideas and all that kind of thing. I mean, it's really developing very fast and it's very exciting. So ultimately with this, you can inspire, it inspires you to do things creatively. It can save you time. It automates boring tasks. I mean, there's so many different things that we can do with generative AI. And of course, we're focusing today on communications. All right. So there's lots of other things. We're not going to talk about all the other things you can do because we'd be here all day. We're going to focus on communications. But just one thing that I'd like to show you is something that I did with generative AI recently, and I'm not really a good designer either. I don't have an artistic bent, but I put this picture into something called Anime Genius, and what it does is it actually transforms a picture into anime, or you can create your own anime from scratch. So I put this picture. This is an actual picture. This is me in Shinjuku in Japan, which is kind of very anime-like, but it's a real picture. There's no filter. It's natural. And this is what I put this in and did a few prompts and came up with this. Now, I was quite flattered by this picture. So, but there are some similarities if you look at the shape of the face and everything. But it managed to do that very, very quickly and using artificial intelligence. So this, we can have a bit of fun with it as well. So I talked earlier about the communications journey, and really, how the structure of communications and how we put it together and how we transmit our messaging. And this is, what we do at the moment, possibly what we need at the moment, and then how generative AI can actually change things. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about this. I can share this with you later, but I just want to sort of briefly go over how it works. So we start off with the transmitter. So that's the person who's creating the message, who's delivering the message. And, you have to start by clarifying your objective. You've got to understand something about your audience. You've got to decide how to engage that audience as well. So there's a lot of work to do right at the beginning. You need to do audience research. You need to think of creative ideas, articulate your objective, which some people find difficult because, clarifying ideas is a challenge. But with generative AI, it inspires you to in ways to achieve your objective. And the inbuilt data that it has on audiences means you don't have to do a lot of that work either. So it's really clever. It's not perfect, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, but it can really do a lot of the donkey work for you. Now, the main part then, of course, of this communication journey is crafting the message. So when we're writing text that stays on message. It has to get to the point. The style has to be interesting. It has to engage people. So at the moment, without generative AI, you really need strong writing skills to do this well. And you also need to be able to adapt your messaging to the audience style and have the skill to do that. Okay, but with generative AI, you don't necessarily need that. Okay, it actually generates fluent and engaging text in seconds, and it's remarkable how quickly it works. But again, just to emphasize, at the moment, it's not perfect. Okay, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a moment. But it also follows a narrative structure, so you don't have to work out what bit goes where. It'll do that for you. And it easily adapts the style. So you can adapt the style depending on your audience. You just prompt it to do that. Then, of course, we come to the platform. So the way that we deliver the message, the platform, the bridge, if you like, between the transmitter and the receiver. So this often means designing things. So the design is clean and appealing. It focuses on style and form to make sure that the audience is engaged and should be able to follow it easily. And it should be attractive. And really, for this, you need strong design skills. You need a good eye for design, understanding of style and form, and in some cases, some IT skills as well. Whereas with a generative AI, this is with this software, it's got inbuilt design skills already. You don't have to have that necessarily. It creates stylish and engaging design. Sometimes it takes a bit of work. It doesn't happen straight away. But it really helps you to do that without having to make too much effort. And then functionality saves time as well. So this is a big game changer. It's saving you a lot of time that you can work on that you used to work on other things. And then finally, when it gets to the receiver, a receiver wants to be engaged. They want a prompt response to things if they want to interact with you. And sometimes if you're doing this at scale, it can be difficult. And generative AI can be programmed to do that for you. And it's quite remarkable how personalized and effective that can be. And this is now. This is as generative AI is starting to come into the mainstream. You can imagine what it's going to be like in 5-10 years' time. I mean, it's already pretty amazing. 5-10 years' time, it's going to be all over the place. And it's pretty much how we're going to be working. So this is why we need to get with the program right now, really. So onwards. So I thought just quickly explain to you a little bit about the large language model. And this is really how generative AI works. Now, I'm not going to get into sort of great technical detail here, but in order to understand how to use generative AI, I think it's important to know a little bit how about how the large language learning model works. So basically, it's the model itself, the algorithms, they're fed data, okay? And this data, a lot of it comes from the internet, but sometimes, as with ChatGPT, a lot of it was kind of fed into the system. And then it learned patterns in language and images, and it uses these patterns to generate new content. So that's basically, in a nutshell, how it works. It learns and then it identifies patterns and images. But as we continue to use it, so those of you using ChatGPT, for example, it's learning from what you're putting into it as well. So sometimes you can use ChatGPT. I wish they'd changed the name. They should have gotten ChatGPT to come up with a better name, because it's a bit of a mouthful. But anyway, it's really important that we understand that this is how it works, that it identifies those patterns in language, and it uses that to sort of generate the new content, including what we're putting into it as well. And then finally, we need to make sure that we prompt effectively. So that helps to narrow the range of data to make the result more accurate, because a lot of people at the moment, they're putting quite vague instructions into things like ChatGPT, and they're not getting the results that they want. So it's a new skill. Prompting is something that you're going to have to learn. And that's not hype. It's not sort of, just a maybe, something that's going to may or not happen. It's going to happen. Prompting skills is a new soft skill. And it's something that, you're really going to need to use going forward, not just in terms of communication, but in all sorts of other areas as well. But I think it's important to understand some of the limitations as well, because when we get a new piece of technology like this, which is just amazing to us because a lot of us haven't come across it before, we tend to sort of get a bit starry-eyed, and we see that we think it's just amazing. But actually, it's amazing in some ways. I mean, the way it can generate text, and sometimes it's very accurate and interesting. Yes, that's amazing, but it's not perfect. And this is why this is the case. Some of the data that it's learning from is old, right? So, for example, with the free ChatGPT, which is probably a lot of you are using, learned from data that was from 2021 or before. Okay, so a lot of it's outdated, the information that it's using. So that's worth bearing in mind. Secondly, is inaccurate. So a lot of the information that they get is based on what people have written, and not everybody tells the truth. And that's a big thing at the moment, isn't it? So, we've got to be really careful that we don't just take what ChatGPT gives us at face value. And then some of it is badly written and designed. Okay, so, you will get generative AI to create a piece of written content for you, and it's just not very good. It's the grammar's perfect, the structure is good maybe, but the tone or whatever is not necessarily right, because it's learning from lots of different things. So that's something we have to bear in mind. And this is the case at the moment. They are trying to work on a system that selects the data that it learns from, in order to overcome this. But it's actually proving to be quite a challenge, even for these amazing tech wizards that have come up with ChatGPT. They're really challenged to find a way that can discern fake news from the good stuff. So we'll see what happens on that. So this is really how you should approach your communications. Okay, and I suppose this goes not just for text and design, but any kind of use of AI really, but we're going to focus on communication for this. So as I said earlier, learn how to prompt, all right, because prompting skills, or prompt engineering as it's called, which is kind of exciting, I suppose, it's a new soft skill. And just like writing and being able to speak well and all those other soft skills that we need in business these days, prompting is going to be the future. And so it's good to get involved now, because if you start doing that now, and I'm sure Nasri will tell us a little bit more about this in a moment, then it's going to be something that's really, really helpful for you, and you can, you get ahead of everybody else. When you get a result from this generative AI, make sure that you use it as inspiration. So don't just let it dictate to you, say this is what you have to do, and just use that. Always check. Avoid cutting and pasting. Sometimes even when it generates text, you're going to need to make some amendments. And so that's something to bear in mind as well. And then finally, I think we mustn't forget that we have to understand the basic principles of communication. And this is something that kind of worries me, especially about younger people coming through, because they're going to have access to this technology. They're going to grow up with it, but then they might lose, because the computer's going to do everything for them. I'm worried that they're going to lose the skill that they still need, which is to have an understanding and make well-informed adjustments to what they're given through generative AI, to retain that authenticity and accuracy. So we talked about accuracy being an issue. Sometimes you get fake news, and authenticity is another thing, because we're getting people now copying and pasting from ChatGPT like they're writing an email, and it doesn't sound authentic. It sounds like somebody else has written it. I've been talking to some people now, and they say their clients have suddenly, that maybe they've been working with clients whose English is not perfect because it's their second language, and suddenly they become amazing writers, and somehow it affects the engagement. Okay, so we've got to retain that authenticity, and that's something we need to consider. So just very quickly, these are some of the applications that you could use. I mean, there's thousands out there depending on what your particular need is, but these are the sort of the big ones that a lot of people are using. For text, we've got ChatGPT. I've mentioned that a lot. Bard is the Google version, which is actually, having sort of tried both of them, I think Bard is actually a little bit better. Also, though, ChatGPT, the free one, is the kind of basic one, but if you pay for it, I think it's something like $20 a month. It's better. It's designed to be sort of more accurate and things. So it might be worth investing in that. And Microsoft Bing is another one. It's another competitor there, and they're using that in the search engine and things. So that's good. Image generators, Midjourney is a popular one. I think that goes through another application called Discord, which some of you may be on. Adobe have just bought out Firefly, and you can get free like beta versions of this and play around with it. So that if you want to have a go at that, you can do that for free. And DALL-E 3 was one of the first ones. This comes from the same people as ChatGPT. And I think if you signed up to ChatGPT 4, you can get DALL-E 3 as well. That all comes as part of the package. There are plenty of others, of course. Canva, some of you may be familiar with. That's been an app that's been around for a long time to help us design things, but now it's incorporated AI. And that helps you design and target your presentations or whatever in a much more effective way. Grammarly, a lot of people use that to write and improve their writing. They've incorporated a lot more AI now, so there's a lot more we can do with it. And there's another one that you might not have heard of, but it's something I was introduced to a short while ago, and it's amazing. It's called Udly, and it actually helps you to improve your speaking abilities. And it uses AI to monitor your voice and your facial expressions and what you're saying, and it gives you feedback, and it's pretty amazing actually, some of the feedback that it gives you. So that's another tool. That's another kind of tool that's coming out. There are loads and loads more that you can use to improve your communication skills, whether that's learning communication skills or actually communicating. Just a word about safety. Because this is important, that we have to understand that when a lot of generative AI is what we call open AI, and that means you're sharing the information. So once you put it into ChatGPT, it does become accessible to other people. Now, that's not to say that they can search for it and they can find, say, a document that you uploaded, but the information that you share with it may be given to someone else in the form of a prompt that they come up with. So you've got to be really careful with that, especially sharing personal, sensitive information. Think about the sort of photographs that you're sharing with, like the one I showed earlier. If you're not comfortable having that kind of stuff shared, then it's best to reconsider it. Don't apply blind trust to everything you're presented with. So always check. Again, not everything that you're presented with in ChatGPT, however authentic it may sound, it's not necessarily the case. And then make sure you get a human second opinion, especially if it's an important communication that you're involved in. So that's something to bear in mind as well. Okay, so hopefully just a few tips, a few ideas there to get you thinking about how to use communication, how to use generative AI in communication. I'll give you a quick demo later with ChatGPT and show you how I might use it for writing something. But before we do that, let's go to Nasri Bajri. and Dr. Nasri Basri, and he's the Regional Operations Director at Kagul. And I'm just going to bring in Nasri now. So are you with us, Nasri?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Hey, thanks a lot, Neil, for
Okay,
having
I'm
me.
going to put you on spotlight so everybody can see you there. So thank you very much for joining us today, Nasri. Now, I'm sure you were listening to my attempt to explain the tech there and probably wincing a little bit, but hopefully now we bring in an expert to tell us a little bit more about this. So just a little bit more about Nasri. So he's now a regional operations director for Southeast Asia at Kagul, which is a British IT company, and is setting up you set up the office in Malaysia, didn't you? So you were growing that now.
Malaysia,
It's been
yeah.
very successful. And previously to that, he was a lecturer at UKM, which is the National University of Malaysia, in data analytics, leadership, and communication. So he's done a lot of work on AI as well as part of that. Previously, he was a data scientist at Ernst Young. He does a lot of public speaking. I've seen him speak. He's a really good speaker and serial entrepreneur. I know he's a very driven person. So thank you very much, Nasri, for joining us today. So first of all, from a tech perspective, why should we be using AI now? Why, how is it actually going to help us?
All right, Neil, thanks a lot. First of all, thanks a lot for having me, and to the audience, and thanks a lot for joining this session. This is definitely, hopefully it's going to be an eye-opening session for you guys, everyone, to really use Gen AI, right? To not just boost communication, but to boost everything, improve productivity, and we are talking about healthy productivity now, not toxic productivity. Okay, to answer your question, Neil, so your question was about why should we use Gen AI now? Okay, this is interesting because the first time I was introduced to artificial intelligence was back in 2009. Yeah, back then, I remember back in university, we call it ANN, artificial neural network, right? We got this brain, yeah, and computer is trying to artificially simulate human intelligence. To be more specific, cognitive intelligence. Not much on the emotional intelligence yet, but now Gen AI can do both, right? Cognitive intelligence and a bit of emotional intelligence as well. All right. So now we are 2023, right? We got not the advancement of the software itself, but the hardware. So everything is now well connected globally. When it comes to like knowledge base, is super strong, way bigger, way complex. And when it comes to ChatGPT, OpenAI, it has, I think, more than 200 billion parameters. Why it is important? That shows, yeah, the neural network in your brain, and now got more and more and more, meaning that the knowledge base and the knowledge bank itself is much bigger, right?
Sorry, can I just clarify that in terms of what AI is, generative AI is using, the knowledge base
Yeah.
is getting closer to what we as humans might have.
Imagine we have like a big brain monitoring, not really monitoring, helping human being in general, right? Globally on the cloud.
Mm.
Yep, that's super powerful. So that's why, as of now, it is like a must everyone to use Gen AI, generative AI, to boost things. Yeah, not just communication, as I said. So when it comes to just knowledge base is a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and not just that. It's not just big, but the ability of Gen AI now to personalize their text, for example, the text creation, text generation. I remember last time when I was in the university, Bloom's taxonomy, we got this is how we learn things, right? The highest level of learning is when we can create things. That's the highest human being can do. And now when AI can create and generate things, we have somewhat the same level of intelligence, human and machine. So welcome to the world of not really IR 4.0, is this the beginning of IR 5.0. Industrial revolution 5.0 is all about how machine and human can work together collaboratively. So in this context, communication, we use human capabilities to communicate and boost up with AI.
Right. So he's got this vast amount of knowledge and this vast bank of information that it uses. Like I said before about learning, it learns you know, what's good, and it learns from patterns, and it's got the knowledge that, you know, we couldn't possibly achieve as just one individual human being, could we?
Correct. Yes, yes. That knowledge and then the ability to scale up, scale down, and personalize. And at the same time, this is a machine. They can operate 24/7.
Right. And, you know, I mentioned before a few applications of the generative AI in terms of improving our communication. So can you maybe, is there anything that I missed there? Is there anything you thought of that, you know, that you've come across?
Yeah, I think when it comes to like communication, one of the major barriers is to draft something, right? To start something, to initiate text, email, content, image, video, etc., etc. Like the first step when it comes, like, I think maybe some of you have read this book, Atomic Habits, right? For things to get a habit to be a habit, it has to be easy. So now we have ChatGPT, Gen AI, to ease the process of we creating something. That would definitely a big plus. So when it comes to communication as well, so we've passed that draft. And then the good thing about Gen AI now, it has not just the big knowledge base, but also body of knowledge. Yes, when it comes to body of knowledge itself, like the structure or structure things on how to create like a presentation slide, for example, we can just like simply ask, do some prompt on ChatGPT, can you please provide or draft us the outline? So that body of knowledge, I remember last time when I did my PhD, this is very critical for us to come up with a body of knowledge. It's part of doctorate outcomes to come up with a body of knowledge. But now ChatGPT can do that. Yeah, Gen AI can do that. So that's excellent. But as you said, Neil, it has to be double confirmed, double check, right? So I would touch back maybe in the next session on how can we really show that anything that is generated by Gen AI is we can rely upon.
Yes.
That's the way on how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would imagine it's going to be a little while off before we will get perfect information, if it ever happens at all. I mean, yeah, I was interesting actually that you were talking about this idea of the human knowledge, and then the knowledge that AI has been almost the same, or if not more now. I've heard of this concept called singularity, which I understand it is that this is when an AI can actually perform at the same level as a human in terms of cognitive behavior, in terms of the way it thinks and reacts to things. But we're not there yet, are we? But some scientists seem to think we're not far off. What's your opinion on that?
Correct. We are not far off. Yes, 100%. The fact that our client at Kagul, lots of demands on connecting Gen AI, generative AI, to their own internal database, company database, so that everything that is prompted by the staff, for example, by the employee or their customer, is 100% tailored to the information that they have in their own database. So that's super precise, not just information-wise, but context as well, which is very important when it comes to the Gen AI. Contextualization precision is super high. And the third one is intention. Intention recognition is also part of Gen AI. So intention, which is like very close to your heart, not just to your brain, but your heart as well. Intention. And the next thing will be on the consciousness as well. So just be ready.
Right. And I think when it comes to intention, expressing that intention, that relates very closely to the idea of prompting, doesn't it?
Correct. Yep. Communication intention, people can tell that if your intention is being well communicated or not. So by having Gen AI, that would somewhat be very, very helpful on for you to be precise contextually and intentionally as well.
Yes. So also setting the context for the generative AI to respond to is quite an important part of prompting. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yep.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting. So one eye on the future, because I know you're working a lot in tech at the moment, aren't you? You probably know quite a lot about where we are, but have you got any ideas now about sort of what's on the horizon? So we've got this generative AI at the moment. It's got a few, you know, it's amazing, but it's got some flaws. Do you know anything about what's coming through? What we should be excited about?
Oh, yep, 100%. So this is just the beginning of generation of things using technology, Gen AI, as we speak, right? So coming up, at the moment we are talking about text and image, right? Which is like somewhat 2D, two-dimensional, and three-dimensional, right? And the near future is going to be the next dimension, which is what? Z dimension. So got X, Y, and then Z. So 3D, generation of volumetric image or things that has volume in it. And 4D, fourth dimensional is time. So we can generate things near real time context or domain. So that is the next thing. Text, image, video, that is from the context of space and time. But when it comes to simulating intelligence, as of now, it is somewhat cognitive intelligence, as I said. And the next thing will be, there are 7 types of intelligence that the machine try to artificially simulate. Yeah, we got language, we got music, we got physical. So now we got AIoT, artificial intelligence of things, where robot itself, yeah, in the past, like 10 years ago, robot is fine, can do manual things, but very repetitive. The robot can't really learn from their own environment and mistake. But these days, with AIoT, the robot can learn from their own mistake.
No, I'm guessing, look, some people are here listening to this and they're thinking, does this mean that we're going to get taken over? How soon is it before AI starts to rule us?
Oh, tricky question. Okay, I would suggest you guys to read this book by Michio Kaku, a professor based in New York University. I've been reading his book and his work on YouTube channel as well, on YouTube, on how technology and human can work together harmoniously.
Right.
It's going to be a bit challenging, but as I said, I remember this morning I was with this one Grab driver. He asked me many things about AI and stuff, and then he asked me like, how can he, for example, how can he really ride on this technology? So my answer was, we have no choice other than to ride on the technology, to use technology and to learn it every single month. It used to be like every 6 months we learn something new, but these days with this Gen AI, every month. And maybe in the next future, every week or every day, new things. But so long you understand the philosophical thing of things, philosophy, biology, anatomy and physiology, because I was also teaching this subject back in university, anatomy and physiology, that was my background. And now I use that onto machine on how we can simulate that. So yes, and the fact that back in Harvard University, Wise Institute, they use soft robotic, where they use cells to create robots.
Wow. Now this is where it starts to get a bit creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, so okay, but let's focus on communication first. Yeah, this is gonna be another topic.
Yeah.
Topic for another day. But when it comes to communication or communicate or sharing things using AI, let's just focus on that. It's super powerful. So please use it.
Yeah, and I guess that in the they'll start to work with all these flaws, won't they? So that when you prompt ChatGPT or whatever it is, it'll come up with more natural text. It will be more closer to what you really want.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, sometimes it doesn't necessarily achieve that, does it? But as a non-tech person, I've tried to use some of this, like the design technology, even with AI, and it's still sometimes a bit tricky. So do you think we're close to, being able to give a very simple prompt and then it's going to be able to design something very, very elaborate without much effort from us?
I would say that that's going to happen fairly soon. The fact that you don't have to really master prompt engineering anymore. As of now, the current practice, for example, for you to accurately prompt something, you have to understand or to feed input, output, and context to ChatGPT, for example, to come up with something that is more precise. But yeah, in the near future, once everything is well connected, the AI algorithm engine in the backend will communicate to each other to understand local context or accent. For example, Malaysian English, right? So, for example, if you look at Netflix can understand the locality, flavors, or preferences, right? Imagine the same thing happens on ChatGPT, where the ChatGPT, the LLM, can understand the local way of saying things. It's going to happen. This is what we call adaptive learning and transfer learning. And this is deep learning, not just shallow cognitive level, but deep multi-layers. Yes.
Because of course it's learning all the time. It's not just relying on the data that's been fed to it or that it's taking from the internet, but it's also what the data that we're putting into it and the way that we're using it. It's learning that all the time as well, isn't it?
Correct. And for us to also be consistent in using, for example, if you go to ChatGPT, right? If you notice on the left side of it, you can create new chat, for you to come up with something new, topic, some article that is quite new, yep, not similar with the previous one. So that has been my practice, to make sure that everything is contextually precise and the algorithm is aligned to what I'm creating at that particular point of time. So that would ensure the context is precise, intention is being recognized. That's part of prompt engineering. As of now, that's how it works as of now. But in the near future, things will be done fairly seamlessly. Yeah.
Right. So we can learn prompt engineering now, but we might not need it in the future.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Wow, okay. But then there's probably another skill that we're going to need, isn't there? I mean, I don't know, but
yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? And I think we're getting closer, aren't we, very quickly. And I think you mentioned before about this technology is developing very, very fast.
Yeah, yep.
The point now where I think, you know, even some data scientists or whatever, they're worried that it's actually going to get out of control and that we're going to, you know, because there are downsides to this technology, aren't there? And there are problems that may happen if we don't really control things, and it's very difficult to do that. So it's kind of exciting, but also, you know, there's things that we have to be aware of as well, isn't there? Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So prompt engineering at the moment, yes, is a good idea, but it sounds like, you know, there's a sort of there's a science behind it. But you know, I guess it's not too complicated. I think you articulated it quite well there. There was sort of three elements. So that's something that people can learn, isn't it? And I'm sure there's lots of resources out there. Anyway, thank you very much,
about the science part. Yep.
We'll take questions a little bit later, so I might bring you back in if that's okay, a bit later on. If you have any questions as we're talking about this, feel free to put them in the chat box. And then when we have the Q&A at the end, we can take those questions. So I've got another 10 minutes now, and I'm going to demonstrate to you how I might use ChatGPT. So let me just put me in the spotlight for a second. Right, there we go. So you can see me now. Right, I'm going to share with you ChatGPT. Now I'm using the free version of ChatGPT because that's the one that most people are using at the moment. As I say, you can actually upgrade to ChatGPT 4, which is a bit more sophisticated. But this is the one that most people are using, so I'm going to use this one. Now I'm just going to have a bit of fun with it. Okay, I'm not going to do anything too elaborate because you know, it's going to take about 10 minutes to do this. So I'm going to pretend there's a scenario where earlier in the day I shouted at my colleague. All right, I got a bit frustrated and angry, and I shouted at her, and you know, obviously I kind of regret it, and I want to write her an email to sort of apologize and to try and set things straight. So I struggle with words maybe sometimes, especially when it comes to emotional things. This is the scenario, by the way, it's not necessarily the reality. But you know, this is what it might be. And I'm going to use ChatGPT because I want it to word it in a way that I can you know, like, that would be acceptable to my colleague. Now, this colleague is somebody who I know reasonably well. We're not close friends or anything, but you know, we've worked together for a while, and generally we get on. But this time, you know, I got a bit over the top, and you know, I need to set the record straight. I need to get things back to normal. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to help me, and I'm going to just prompt it first of all to write me an email apologizing for shouting at my colleague earlier. Okay, so I just press generate. And as you can see, just with that reasonably vague prompt, it's come up with this. I'm not going to read it out. I'll just let you just read it yourself first of all. And then I'll talk about it. So what I would say about this at the moment is really long. Okay, it sounds very apologetic, of course, and the tone is reasonable, I think, in this situation. But I would say, it's going a bit over the top, and in some cases it may be a little formal, because, as I say, I know this person. It's not like I'm writing to a client or something like that, and it does sound as the more this piles on, that it's a bit of a groveling apology, and that's not really what I want. I just want a nice short email that's going to sort of get to the point and help her understand a little bit about what happened. Now, I think I need to prompt again and just give it a reason as to why I did that, because it's a little bit vague in this particular email. So I'm going to just write, I was stressed due to breaking up with my partner. Okay, so let's see what it comes up with now. Now, you see, look at the subject line. Apology for earlier incident, stress induced. I don't think, if I was actually writing this email, I don't think I'd write it like that, because it kind of sounds a bit dramatic, doesn't it? Again, I think it's quite long, and is all about I understand. Did we value our working relationship, the professionalism we maintain in our interactions, and I think it's just a little bit over the top. Okay, so it's not something I'm going to use. I'm going to ask them to make it shorter, because it's too long. So let's see what it comes up with now. Right. Now, this isn't too bad. Okay, it's broken it down into a couple of, or two or three paragraphs there. But I'm not sure if that's something necessarily that's going to be enough. All right. So also, the colleague is quite young, and it seems very, very formal. So I'm going to say the colleague is 25. Make it more informal, because it does sound a bit like I'm writing to a client or somebody or my boss. Now, it's come up with, I'm really sorry about flipping out earlier today. I was totally uncool, and I owe you an apology. Now, Natalie mentioned earlier about the way that generative AI tends to learn, and it doesn't necessarily reflect cultural issues very well. So what you tend to find here is that this is a sort of very American way of talking. All right, so it's totally uncool. I'm flipping out. This isn't going to work in a lot of other contexts if you're working in another culture. So you've got to be careful of this as well. So I think I've been dealing with a major breakup, and it's been messing with my head. It's not an excuse for my behavior, but I thought you should know why I was acting like a jerk. Again, very Americanized way of writing. So I think we could use the sort of sentiment, the sort of idea. But look at the subject, my bad dude. Again, it's not necessarily something we could just cut and paste, and you've got to be very, very careful with that. Okay, so let's just do a couple more prompts. I think I want to make it a bit more professional, rather than get rid of some of that slang, because I think it's a little bit too informal at the moment. I spelled professional wrong, but it doesn't matter. It picks that up. I wanted to extend my sincere apologies for my unprofessional behavior earlier today. It was inappropriate, and I take full responsibility for it. Again, not bad, but we're sort of getting there. But I still think, it doesn't sound quite right. It's not authentic. Okay, so this is when we need to sort of change it a little bit. I'm going to just have a bit of fun with it now. I'm going to ask it to make it a bit more fun, because let's assume that this colleague that I know, is quite a fun person. She quite likes jokes, things like that. So what is it going to come up with now? Whoops, my bad. I owe you a big fat apology for my little meltdown earlier. My bad. I totally lost my cool, and it was totally uncool. So again, it's we're really kind of we're getting some ideas of how we might phrase some things, but again, I don't think it's very appropriate. So we've done all that prompting so far, and I don't think we still have something that we can actually cut and paste. So what I tend to do for because I'm conscious of time, what I would do is I would probably just choose what I thought was the closest to what I was trying to do, and I'm going to use this one. Okay, the short, sweet one. I'm going to copy, but now I'm going to copy it and I'm going to create a Word document. So I need to then share that with you. If you just give me a second while I get this sorted. So I've copied it from ChatGPT. All right, just give me a second. Okay. Hopefully they'll invent AI that helps you do this a bit quicker as well. So there we go. So there we are. So hopefully you can see that now. And I'm just going to paste that there. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to spend too long on this, but I'll just give you an idea of how I, as a writer, because I used to do some copywriting as well. I used to be a copywriter, so I've got some idea of how to write, and I also used to be a journalist. So I'm going to apply some of those skills very, very quickly. Okay. I want to apologize for my outburst earlier today. I think that's okay, actually. Get straight to the point. It's nice and succinct there. I was going through a stressful personal situation. I don't think we need to say that necessarily. I'm going to cut that. Okay, I was going through a recent breakup with my partner, which does not excuse my behavior, but provides some context. I think provides is a bit of a too formal there, so I'm going to just change it to gives you some context. I deeply value our working relationship, and I committed to ensuring such incidents don't happen again. I'm just going to change this won't happen again. If you're up to it, I'd like to discuss this further and find a way to move past it. Thank you for your understanding. I think what I might do as well is I might add a little bit more context in there, because I didn't really prompt the ChatGPT with that, did I? So I could actually write another paragraph there where I just kind of explain a little bit more about why, I was feeling a bit stressed and I was a bit jumpy all morning or whatever it was. Okay, so just maybe another couple of sentences in there. But you can see how you actually can use what ChatGPT has given you. But you've got to make sure that you're very selective. You've got to make sure that you prompt it well. And then, once you've done that, then you've just got to make a few changes to make sure that it fits. Okay, so that's just a very quick, short and sweet demonstration then. So hope you found that helpful. So I'm going to stop sharing that now. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to go to questions in a minute. I think we've got a few questions in the chat. So I'll come to those in a second. Feel free to add some more. Just before we go to that, though, I just want to share with you a survey. We're going to do a quick survey, which is going to take you about 2 or 3 minutes, and you can do this after the webinar. And what we're interested in is your experiences of using generative AI at the moment and what you're interested in learning in the future. So how do you think, from what you know already of generative AI, how are you going to apply that in your work particularly, but also, in your personal life? And what specific areas are you thinking that AI will be able to help you? Because we're doing much more research on this so that we can, we'll help other people as well. So I'm going to put the link in the chat in a moment, and then I'll also send you an email later with that link in as well, just in case you want to do it afterwards. Okay, so that's something to look for afterwards. Okay, so let's have a look for questions. So Hadja has asked, when is it going to be up to date? The last update was 2 years ago. I think it's talking about ChatGPT there. So maybe Nasri, you're probably good to come in on this. When is it going to update ChatGPT to the to some more relevant and modern information?
Good question there. The fact that we have to understand everything has its own limitation. So that includes ChatGPT. So instead of enlarging their knowledge base or data center, so the current way of staying updated with the information is by allowing the algorithm to access internet and to stay updated. So with the accessibility and API management, that's how they stay updated and relevant. So every single solution, digital solution these days, is all about scalability and integration, and that includes ChatGPT, OpenAI. So, but we have to remember that ChatGPT is all about LLM, large language model, the algorithm itself. Once we got the algorithm ready, then we can connect that algorithm with any other knowledge or information easily. Yeah.
Right. But it does take a little while, doesn't it? And I was talking to somebody else who's working in this field, and they were telling me that it takes an enormous amount of computational power, doesn't it? To the extent that they're actually worried about the effect on the environment.
Correct.
This
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
thing.
So that is
yeah.
why now Microsoft and other big cloud provider, they started to explore the quantum computing, yeah, to allow 0 and 1 to exist on the same time. So that would somewhat cut half of the computational cost.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, so there's all sorts of challenges ahead, isn't there? But yes, it's going to be constantly updating. And I think if you go on to ChatGPT 4, it is more up to date, isn't it? If you get the paid for version.
Yes, and that's one. And then that ChatGPT 4.0 now can also integrate with other apps as well. So
Right.
that is how they evolve the direction of evolution as of now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's good to hear. That was one question. So thank you very much. Are there any other questions? We don't seem to have any others at the moment. I've just put the link into the survey, Survey Monkey. So please feel free to check that. Are there any other questions at all for either myself or Dr. Nasri about using generative AI to help you with your communications? Or is everybody being very shy? You've got a question, Nasri. Oh, Hadji's just come up with another question. Thank you very much for being, for helping us out here, Hadji, with your questions. What is the reason behind the sudden appearance of ChatGPT and other AI technologies? I've got another one for Nasri, I think. Oh, sorry, you're muted. Yeah, one sec. There you go.
All right. Excellent question. So this one, the question was, I have another simple question. What is the reason behind the sudden appearance of ChatGPT and other AI technologies? Okay. This is okay. Back in the 10 years ago, when the software is ready, but hardware is not ready. So we can't really deploy solution. But now we got both software and hardware ready. So since 2014, this advancement of both software and hardware somewhat boost up this Gen AI. That's technological wise. And then second is demand. Yeah, when it comes to like large corporate, for example, large organization. This morning I had a physical meeting with a client where they have these challenges to access information, because big companies, they have many systems. Systems are good, right? But when it comes to like assessing and retrieving the right information in the shortest time possible, that has been a challenge, right? So now with this ChatGPT and data and the pipeline is all well connected and adaptively evolving, it can be done easily. It's just about finding the right talent and technology. That's it.
Right. Okay. That's good. I mean, yes, it's not something that's just appeared, is it? It's something that's been developed over time, but it's only now that it's actually that it's been produced in such a way that it's useful to all of us and that we're all able to access it. And I suppose it just takes a while to get to that point where it's usable. But we're there now, and that's why it suddenly appeared, and everybody is very excited about it. I think it was about a year ago. It was ChatGPT was unveiled, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike's got a question. What are the chances of ChatGPT malfunctioning and giving incorrect info due to a bug? I mean, can viruses get into it and corrupt the system? I mean, is it secure?
Okay, so the question was, what are the chances of ChatGPT malfunction and giving incorrect info due to a bug? Okay, a bug, as of my knowledge, that has been very minimal accidents on because of that malfunction. Because definitely, especially now, ChatGPT and Microsoft, they work together, and we understand when it comes to like maturity of the people and the technology itself, this is very less likely. But again, and even when it comes to like, okay, this is due to bug. So let's move to another context. Malfunction due to something that is quite sensitive information, right? On Azure OpenAI, for example, this is under Microsoft Azure together with OpenAI technology. So we can somewhat change and control the logics to ensure that any prompt or anything that is being generated by the AI is contextually monitored, yeah, to the local context and whatnot. So that's the brilliant of how we can do this manually. As of now, manually, yeah, the data engineer, AI engineer is doing that in the back end. Yeah, that's like, for example, in our team as well, we are doing that for our client. But in the future, things will be somewhat partially. We'll start with partially automated and maybe fully automated at some point. Yes.
Yes. Okay, brilliant. One last question then, from Francis. Do we fear, and is it reasonable that the people, especially the younger generation growing up with this tool, easily available to them, will lose the ability, the skills and fortitude to do the legwork at things in general, like research and learning, and in communication, read today's topic? I'll take that one if it's okay. Thanks, Francis. That's a good question, and I think I referred to it earlier. This idea that, you know, if we're not careful, people will just get used to using this technology, and then they'll lose those skills, which are still going to be necessary. Because I think nobody knows really where this is all going, but we're not going to be living, you know, alongside computers the whole time, and there's still going to be things that require the human touch. We're still going to be interacting with each other. I don't think that's going to change fundamentally. But, you know, it is something that we have to be really aware of. And I think this goes down to education now. I think it's very important that, you know, teachers teach the younger generation that whilst this technology is good and it can help you, and this is the way that it can help you, it shouldn't just automatically do all the work for you so that you can, you know, you can have a very easy life. Because I think then we're all in trouble if people don't learn those skills. But it's a difficult one to master. I mean, you know, at the moment, a lot of these kids are growing up with this technology now. I mean, you think about somebody who's, say, 4 or 5 years old now, you know, this is new technology. And by the time they come of age, this technology will have progressed. Are they going to have the same kind of communication skills, or the organization skills, critical thinking skills that we have today, because they're so used to using this technology? I think is definitely something that society and governments have to really think about as well. And there is a sign that that's happening, but perhaps not as fast as it should, because the technology is coming at us so fast. So you could have a whole debate on this, couldn't you? It's a great question. Thanks very much, Francis. And we'll take one more question and then we'll wrap up. So Zamir says, oh, I have to drop off. That's not a question. Another one. Okay, from Camel. I guess ChatGPT ranks the sources based on reliability. Could we imagine a ranking of the answers based on their sources? Or is it too complicated to implement? And is it something the human brain can do? Do you want to take that one quickly, Nasri? Sorry. There you go.
All right, thank you very much, Kamel, for that question. So the question was, I guess ChatGPT ranks the source based on reliability. Yes. Could you imagine a ranking of the answers based on their sources? Or is it too complicated to implement? Is it something the human brain can do? As of now, yes, you're right. The reliability of the source, for example, research articles and whatnot, right? It's hard for us to ask ChatGPT to rank how reliable the sources are. But as it evolves, it will be able to do that for us. Yes. Especially now these days, Gen AI is well connected with database locally and globally. This can be done easily by them. Yeah. Is it something the human brain can do? Yes, together with the machine.
I think it's essential, really, if we're going to be able to trust this technology. And I think this is where, you know, if we're not careful, it could break down, because if the tech people don't sort of sort this out, then we're going to start seeing the limitations more frequently. But it could go the other way, couldn't it? Like you say, it's like it could be very reliable, and it could be very, very trustworthy.
Yeah. By the way, sorry, Neil. I think this question by Francis is also very exciting for me to give some input. The fact that now ChatGPT 4.0 and the next version will be having this ability to become, okay, now the ChatGPT is like graduate level tutor, right? Yeah. Next level, next version, next model will have this capability of like a professor to facilitate the process of learning. Yeah, this is happening. But next thing is for it to contextualize a bit. And now we have this another field called social data science, that would allow any data scientists to socially to incorporate social intelligence into the AI, not just cognitive intelligence, not just emotional intelligence, but social intelligence, the context. Let's say Malaysian way of learning in our education system is, yeah, it's a bit not that great, but contextually and socially be modified as well. So the AI would have that context in the near future. Social data science, they call it.
Wow. Yeah, so the tech will evolve along with the kind of reaction to it, I suppose. Yeah. That's where we're going with it. Okay, brilliant. Well, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Nasri, and thank you very much, everybody else, for joining us. Let me just quickly share with you sorry, 1 second. I'm just going to find my slide again. Sorry about this. And I'll just share with you our contacts in case you wanted to keep in touch or you had any questions or whatever. So 1 second while I sort this out. I hope Zoom need to introduce some kind of AI to make this a lot quicker and a lot more efficient, I think. But let me just see. Oh. Right, sorry about this. There we go. Okay, so that's the slide there with our contact details on if you need them. So thank you again for joining us. I hope you found it interesting. I have recorded this, so I will also send you a link to the recording in case you want to come back and listen to anything that we've said again. I'm hoping to do this a bit more often. In fact, we're looking at doing something every month where we'll focus on a particular area of AI and how it's going to help us, perhaps not just in terms of communication, but how it helps us in terms of our professional lives and how it can enhance what we do. And we'll get various experts in to come and show us how it's done, so we can actually learn some real life examples of this in action. So again, thanks very much. Thank you to Dr. Nasri, and thank you everybody else for joining, and I'll hopefully see you again. Goodbye.